for me, Jiu-Jitsu is like a blueprint for my life.
I like to think of it as the heartbeat of my life. Outside of my wife and my kid, of course, like they're my motivation, but the jiu-jitsu is the heartbeat that makes it possible for me to pursue.
Rodrigo and him basically told me, like, we would love to have you come be part of the team.
Most heart disease comes from smoking. Where, hey, you can't walk into a jiu-jitsu school and identify as a black belt. Sorry, you can't do it. If you don't know who he is, Google him, but be ready for some.
Don't Google images.
Yeah, don't Google
news. Yeah.
So, as I was saying, let's talk a little bit about where you started, how your journey went, who you were, where you came from.
For sure.
Let's go.
Awesome. So where did I start? I started Jiu-Jitsu. I started martial arts really in 2006. I signed up at Ivan Salivari's MMA. Yes, Uncle Ivan. Still a big fan of Ivan, his team, and always thankful for him really getting me started on the journey. He helped me fall in love with martial arts in general. I sought it. I needed a workout, man. Like, I was terribly unhealthy. My personal journey, I had a really bad relationship with alcohol at the time when I started jiu-jitsu. I could probably crush a fifth of vodka myself sitting there in a night. Today I don't even drink alcohol. So it's a great, the jiu-jitsu absolutely led to that. But to my origins, started at Ivan's with a focus on kickboxing to begin with. So this was back when Ivan was still in the UFC, right before his last fight, the Seattle Tiger Sharks. I'm probably dating myself here a bit, but the Tiger Sharks trained at Ivan. So there was a big MMA culture there. And in fact, the submission wrestling class wasn't even called Jiu-Jitsu class. It was called Pancration. I did a few of the Pancration classes and really started to enjoy it. This is really like a year into training at Ivan's school. And before that, really had a total focus on kickboxing. I think I imagined kickboxing was like the way I wanted to learn how to fight or learn how to defend myself. I started jiu-jitsu or started the wrestling component, submission wrestling, and I fell in love like right away. There were so many variables and so many components. What I really loved about martial arts in general was it allowed me to work out without having a completely mind-numbing activity. 10 minutes on a treadmill to me feels like 10 hours. Where going in and sparring, learning techniques, something functional, made me, it allowed my mind that kind of freedom to go off and really enjoy the workout, which is something I had never done. I fell in love with jiu-jitsu and decided to move to California for varying reasons. About 2007 and late 2007 ended up at a Gracie Baja in California. Reason being, Ivan was the coach at his school, obviously, and the only other team that I really knew of was Gracie Baja because Professor Cindy Hales came down and taught the Pancration class at Ivan's gym. So Ivan's gym obviously wasn't in California. I got down there. The only other team that I heard of was Gracie Baja. I went to the first Gracie Baja that was near my place in California. I signed up and started down more of a formal gi jiu-jitsu path.
Awesome. By the way, I had Professor Cindy on my podcast.
I did not know that, I love Professor Cindy.
And it was also Amy Montenegro and Christy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 3 female black belts who are just absolute savages.
Badass,
so I loved that I was able to do that podcast. We had a good conversation.
Savages.
A lot, yeah.
I've been beat up on by all 3 of those.
Yeah. Okay, so California. How long were you in California for?
Oh, man, we moved back here in about 2013, so like 7 years.
What part of California?
Orange County.
Okay.
I moved down there in the building trades, and the company I worked for was officed in Riverside. I really only knew about California, LA, like Huntington Beach. So the girl that I moved down there with at the time, Sarah, and I ended up in Huntington Beach shortly after moving there. Her and I called it quits, and I met who is my wife now, Lindsay, in Fountain Valley. So yeah, mostly the Orange County area.
Lindsay's from California as well?
I met her in California. She's originally from Montreal.
Montreal, that's right. Yeah,
Canadian.
I knew she was from. Yeah. And then so you came back in 2013. You were in construction.
Yeah.
It as well.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
And then jiu-jitsu continued in 2013 in Seattle.
Yeah.
Which school?
So when I moved here, when Lindsay and I left California, we were working at Gracie Baja Costa Mesa. So had experience managing schools. When we moved up here, they were short a manager at Seattle as well as Bellevue. Bellevue was really kind of GB Bellevue, Gracie Baja Bellevue for clarity there, was really kind of starting out. And Professor Carlos had just moved up here and was. The school was growing. It didn't have kind of that business aspect to it. Yeah. So Lindsay and I took on managing Gracie Baja Seattle as well as Gracie Baja Bellevue and continued to train at both those locations.
Got you. So when I met you, it was probably around the time, you were probably helping at Seattle. Yeah. And I know I know that Seattle has been around for fucking eons, right? That's
Gracie
cool.
Baja Seattle, 20 years.
Yeah, 20 years.
Yeah.
Because I remember hearing stories about like when Mama Zito was the instructor there, and that's who gave Eric Dahlberg his black belt. Yeah. They actually the story that I heard was Eric was there training with Cindy because they were together, Cindy Hales, and then I believe it was Fabiano Scherner was there, and Fabiano and Eric had they did some no-gi. They sparred together, and Fabiano was big heavyweight, and Eric's about 180 pounds, and they had an absolute war. And then after it was done, Mami Zito went up to Eric and like kind of tapped him on the shoulder and said, "My friend, come here, gi or no gi, you were black belt," and then he gave him a black belt. Right there, yeah, it's kind of a cool story.
Badass. I'd never heard that.
Yeah,
Dahlberg's an absolute animal. Fabiano's still a heavyweight. I don't know if you know.
I know. Yeah, he's still a heavyweight.
Still definitely a heavyweight.
I don't think it could be any less.
No, love that guy too.
Yeah.
He's an amazing human being.
The story of Dahlberg and myself, I started jiu-jitsu with him. I was a judo brown belt, so I met him I was doing judo, and my buddy Eddie, who I met at the judo academy, was training with Dahlberg as well. And Eddie was a good jiu-jitsu guy. Is a good jiu-jitsu guy. He still trains with me, by the way. He beat the fuck out of me, and and then he's like, "Hey, bro, you should try jiu-jitsu over here." Not that he was trying to pull me away from the judo,
sure,
but he was like, "Bro, dude, you got to do this, man. You're gonna be good because you can do both." And I was like, "All right, cool." And then I met Dahlberg. People don't understand the power, technique, and absolute utter fucking dismantling that Dahlberg can do to a human being when it comes. Like, that guy will fuck you up. When I rolled with him the first time, he was playing with me, and it just felt like my life was being taken from me, and there was nothing I can do about it. And I've watched him grapple with people, and just it's humbling, man.
Yes.
I wish Eric Dahlberg would have competed more. Like he just didn't really care to compete. He said, "I just love martial arts. I want to teach. I'm here." He's just one of those Matt Savages, He did compete. He was a pro fighter, fought in Strikeforce and all that shit back in the day, and he actually competed at ADCC or Abu Dhabi back in the day. Kind of like on a whim. He was there as a coach or something, and then I don't know. I don't remember the guy's name. He said, "Eric, how's your weight? How much you weigh right now?" "Oh, I'm about 170 something." He was like, "Oh, okay." He's like, "Can you make 155 by tomorrow morning?" And Eric's like, "What's going on?" He's like, "I need you to compete." And he went against. He competed against, a big household name. I can't remember. I'll come back to it. But he lost by 2 points.
Crazy.
Yeah. He competed against like a multi-world champion guy. I forget his name. I'm losing that. But he on a whim, he cut 20 pounds overnight and competed and fucking had it lost by 2 points too.
Crazy to think where that tournament where it came, where it grew to. Dahlberg as well. I haven't seen him in a few years. How's he doing?
Good. He's down in Kent, Auburn area.
Okay,
He's got the MMA school, jiu-jitsu. He's got a lot of competitors. Like he's doing his thing, man.
Always.
Yeah, like just like he's married now.
All of us do that.
Yeah, yeah. Some of it took me several years, but yeah, he's in his 40s.
Yeah,
got married.
Yeah, settling down.
Yeah, man.
As it were.
So jiu-jitsu, what would you associate your successes outside of jiu-jitsu, and how would you associate it to jiu-jitsu? Like, what would you say to somebody who, is apprehensive about doing jiu-jitsu or to considering it, but they think that it's just about being able to like live spar? Like, what would you say?
Yeah, I mean, jiu-jitsu is so many things. Like it's this huge ball of benefits that if you start unpacking it, you realize how many different aspects of your life jiu-jitsu will affect. So I think most importantly for me, jiu-jitsu is like a blueprint for my life. I can transpose it over everything in my life that's important, whether it's parenting, working, decision-making, problem solving, goal setting, overcoming adversity. All of it can go back to a lesson or some component of something that I learned on the mat. And I think really before I learned jiu-jitsu, I was really kind of blind in the world. And doing jiu-jitsu helped me understand, really open my eyes and start to see how, number one, how powerful I can be in the right situation, given the right tools. And then the flip side of that coin is how I can be weak and how I need to be humbled. So I think one of the most beautiful things outside of being this blueprint that I can take and, transpose over any issue or problem that comes along in my life is that duality, right? Like jiu-jitsu offers you a moment where you're going to feel like the strongest you've ever felt in your life. Also a moment where you're going to feel so hopeless and stuck that you have no choice but to tap and give up, right? And that's beautiful. Like not many things in life offer you both extremes in such a concentrated kind of personified form.
Yeah, I love all that. When you said walking, basically going through life blind, right? You're not able to comprehend or recognize certain things. Jiu-jitsu has helped with that fundamental. The thing about jiu-jitsu, outside of competition, exercise, and whatever, and community, God, I can go on.
Huge.
The thing about jiu-jitsu is you get a better understanding of yourself.
100%.
People are lost because they don't even know who they are.
Yes.
And unfortunately, they don't even know they don't know who they are because they haven't taken the time, energy, focus, and to go within and say, okay, I'm gonna document this. This experience. I'm gonna evaluate this. I'm gonna basically put emphasis on me here first. Work on me. Then everything else will get easier. Mm-hmm. More, opportunities will be more apparent. And jiu-jitsu has made it possible for me to take my construction business and do so much with it, bro. The discipline aspect alone. The discipline is, yes, people go to jiu-jitsu for fun, but they also go to jiu-jitsu out of habit, and they've instilled the habit. And they go to jiu-jitsu because it's something hard, but it's also very rewarding for how hard it is. In other words, like, it's not like you're going to get hurt. You could, but you're going to you get tired. You're going to move your body. You're going to challenge your mind, and your body loves that. Your mind loves that. Mm-hmm. We're engineered for that. The kinesthetic learning that's why it's so great for kids.
Yes,
I like a lot of kids who go through high school, middle school, high school, college as like wrestling or some sort of any sport, but wrestling, like wrestlers become absolute savages off the mats too.
Yes, just in life in general.
Yeah,
100%.
Because they're very familiar with what's real.
Yeah,
they're very familiar with physics, even though they don't take a physics class. Like
balance,
right,
weight,
dude.
Yes.
Let me say this right now. Like if you have kids, man, get them in something.
Yes.
Something, because it's going to make everything else easier for them and more possible. Yes. I love jiu-jitsu, because it's kind of like you said. I was walking through life blind as well, dude. I was same thing, drugs, drinking. Like I still drink, but like I have it under control. I was in bad shape. I went through therapy, and I even remember telling my therapist, one day I was like, after I had gotten off the pills and stuff, which took a lot of time, I said, man, I'm thinking about trying a martial art, but I'm afraid of, and he's like, whoa. Now you got to do it, dude. And I was like, oh shit. He's like, do you want me to walk you through the door myself? And I was like, no, I can do it. And then I walked into the judo club, met John Holm. I was telling you, John Holm, he 70-some-year-old man walks out of his office. He's like, you Shannon? I was like, yeah. He's like, I'm coach. Come on. Come over here. He was a professor at the University of Minnesota. He taught Ronda Rousey's mom. She was a 2-time world champion judoka. And he passed away a couple years ago. But he was in his 80s. The dude was solid, man.
He lived a good life.
Oh, dude, he lived for judo. He had, like, he just loved he also just loved coaching. So he just, like, loved everything about it. One of the stories I like to tell is John Holmes, like, my name's John Holmes. No relation to the porn star, except we got one thing in common. It's so funny. It's so funny. Not like a dick joke to crack,
if your name's John Holmes,
you
gotta have a few on deck.
If you don't know who he is, Google him, but be ready for some.
Don't Google images.
Yeah, don't
Google for news. Yeah.
All right, so jiu-jitsu, direct correlation with everything else in life. I like to think of it as the heartbeat of mine.
That's a great way to put it.
I like to think of it as the heartbeat of my life, outside of my wife and my kid, of course. Like they're my motivation, but the jiu-jitsu is the heartbeat that makes it possible for me to pursue, right?
100.
And to listen to it's that voice inside your conscious, like whether you're religious or not. I like to think of it as I was told by one of my coaches, life coaches, that voice is God speaking through you. Whatever God or being is above you, that's his way of saying to you, like, hey, pay attention to this. There's something to be done here. So that's why it was so easy for me to go to the gym I did 4 to 5 days a week religiously for years.
Yeah.
For years and years and years. Like, and I can say that I'm also grateful that I met Eric Dahlberg, because I don't know anybody else that is so giving with his time. Class would be over and I'd be sparring with like Nick Wallach or whoever, and he would watch, and like it'd be like a seminar right there every day. So it's like I had a private lesson seminar with one of the best every day. And that's how I was able to like jumpstart my jiu-jitsu, let's call it my jiu-jitsu journey, and winning competitions when I was only a year into it, like back-to-back competitions. And I remember Dahlberg saying, well, Shanoosh, my nickname Shanoosh, Mike the Mouth. You know Mike Gravansky?
No.
Mike the Mouth, you never met him?
No.
He gave me that nickname. Anyways.
I love it though.
Yeah, Shanoosh.
It's a fun word to say.
Yeah. Well, Shanoosh, you're beating everybody up. Looks like you need a blue belt, dude. You know, it was kind of like that.
Yeah.
I was like,
here's a punishment.
And I was like, well, if you think I earned it, I'll take it, you know? Yeah. And then my first blue belt competition, I won, but man, I had a war. Jeremy Montgomery, this guy, pro MMA fighter, wrestler, dude, he was working me for like 5 minutes straight, out wrestling me, out everything, and I caught him in an arm bar like the last 20 seconds and beat him, dude. Submitted this guy, and I was like, yeah, I was so excited. Yeah. I remember, I think it was Trevor Smith was there at that competition, and he was like, competing as well. He had a war with the dude. Phoenix Jones, you know the guy, the superhero, dress up superhero and walk around Seattle.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, whatever happened to him?
In a tournament too.
Yeah.
I don't know whatever happened to him. I know he
pro
was
fighter,
like grappling for a while.
Yeah, real tough dude. So tough.
That's where I saw him. Was at the Rumble on the Ridge. I saw him at one of those Rumble on the Ridge when Dex was supposed to fight, but
okay.
Remember he ended up in the hospital once from like his weight cut, like his lung collapsed.
Oh yeah, dude, he's done it a couple times. He fucking Dex would cut like 30 pounds, bro.
That's nuts.
Dude, the last fight that he did in Indiana, we flew out to Indiana for one of his fights. Bro, he cut like 30 pounds.
That's nuts.
I don't know how he does it. He carries a lot of weight, but like it was wild. Yeah, so what happened, he was cutting weight and one of his lungs collapsed.
Yeah, I remember.
And the reason is because when you over dehydrate yourself, your body gets like there's a lining between your lung and the other tissue where it basically keeps it, expanded, right? It's like connected. It's like called pleura or something like that.
Okay.
I think pleura. Anyways, that basically dries up and then it doesn't have anything to stick to, so your lung collapse on itself.
That's terrible.
Yeah. And well, if you do too much, both of them collapse. It's fucked, man. Yeah.
It's
So that happened. But kind of all over the place, but that's all right. It's part of it.
I think back to your point, talking about inspiration, like you were lucky enough to have a Dahlberg
Yes.
that was inspiring to you for the time that he spent. I was lucky enough to have an Ivan and other instructors along the way that really kind of put a fire in me.
Ivan and Dahlberg trained together a lot, by the way. Yeah.
Ivan's amazing.
Yeah,
Dude. That old dude would do
great.
anything for you. He's rough around the edges, but I think all of us are in a way.
Dude, I'll take it. I'd rather take rough around the edges and just absolute savage than, yeah. Ivan, I remember when I first met Ivan, he hugged me like I was his son.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh man, this guy's a fucking bundle of joy, dude.
Oh, dude.
And he's a beast.
my first day I went in and his gym was brand new. Like I built the boxing ring in there with a guy named Craig, who's been around the community forever anyway, who was an iron worker. We were working on the UW buildings down the street when Ivan's gym first opened. Anyway, my first class, I went in and I went into his locker room. I changed and it was just him and I there. I went out and I was stretching on the big green mat and he went into the locker room after me and came out. And this is my first day. Like I did Taekwondo when I was a kid and I wrestled, but other than that, never been in a martial arts academy. And Ivan came out in his just his Valley Tudo shorts. You understand?
Oh, we lost the light.
Oh, no. Oh, you can't see me anymore. Ivan came out in those Valley Tudo shorts and started doing this whole stretching routine.
Anyways, so describe to me Ivan's shorts again.
Yeah. I'll paint you a picture.
Yeah, please do. Send me a meme.
You remember Borat in the...
Yes.
Very similar to that, with a bald head and a big rooster tattoo. You understand?
Yeah, wow.
Anyway, needless to say, I was very intimidated watching this dude slapping his thighs and doing his stretching routine. Again, he was going into the UFC. This is Ivan walking around at 205 pounds. He was lean, mean Uncle Ivan. Then turned out to be, going back to the inspiration thing, one of the warmest people I had ever met, dude. He took me under his wing right away, was bringing me to his house and going over diet stuff with me. And ultimately, I smoked cigarettes too. Those things fell off.
Wait, you were smoking cigarettes at the time?
I did, 2 packs a day.
Dude, you're a
terrible
psycho,
it was terrible.
bro.
I was terrible. But ultimately, the inspiration, wanting to be healthy and be part of this group and and be able to train more, it made cigarettes a moot point. I didn't want them anymore. I wanted that more.
I remember quitting smoking. I used to smoke too. I quit smoking eons ago. Quitting smoking was hard as fuck. And
Agreed.
Yeah. And I don't even know why I quit. It was before I started martial arts. It was before I was on the pills, but I was, I was singing a heavy metal band way back in the day. And I think that was one of the reasons. I was like, I'm going to quit smoking because it's going to make my voice better for, for singing heavy metal. So, thank God for heavy metal. No, But I remember when I skateboard, ride bikes, everything. I remember smoking and then getting winded. But when I was young, I just say, I'm just winded. But now I look back and I go, oh shit! Smoking takes so much out of you. Not just your cardio, but it's a fucking disastrous impediment on your body. You cannot. I have a student who's a cardiologist, and he said, Shannon, smoking is the number one worst thing you can do. You smoke, chances are you don't exercise, so it's a double fuck you to your body. He's like, most heart disease comes from smoking. I'm like, fuck, that's crazy. And it has a lot to do with hypoxia, where you don't have much oxygen in your blood. And the lack of oxygen in your body is basically deterioration in a lot of ways. You're more likely to just get sick. And so I quit smoking years and years and years ago. And I'm like, fuck, I'm so glad I did, man. God, I'm so glad I did.
One of the best decisions I ever made.
Yeah. Dude, I don't think smoking's as popular anymore.
I was
like,
going to
in
bring
a
up
big
the same
way.
point. When we were kids, like it was,
Everybody
smoked on
smoked. Yeah.
airplanes, like
Yeah.
everywhere in the restaurant, there was smoking
Cars.
section. Oh,
Yeah.
everybody smoked in cars. It was just normal. It was just smoking was part of society. And
I don't even think they have ashtrays in cars anymore.
No,
And Mercedes does because it's German.
yeah,
Mercedes has the ashtray still. My 2020 Mercedes S-Class has that ashtray. I'm like, what the hell? It's German. It's thing. Yeah. Yeah.
Germans still smoke cigarettes.
Yeah. So outside of Casey's jiu-jitsu and family and like, what else, man? What are some crazy fucking things that have happened that have been a testament to your being and a lesson that, like, give me an example of, adversity and how you overcame it, how you've overcome it.
Yeah. Thank you. It's a great question. Not everybody knows my background, but like I was an orphan. I was out of my parents' house at a very young age. And like I really struggled in my 20s. I was walking around very much like I suggested, like very blind. I had a very unhealthy relationship with alcohol, drugs, tobacco, and I was legitimately killing myself. I didn't think I would make it to 40. Like I didn't think about retirement. I didn't think about those things because in my head I was going to die before then and yada yada. Who needs to worry about retirement if you're only going to make it to 39? I didn't think about being a parent. I didn't think about any of those things. And ultimately I didn't to myself have any value. Yeah. And I think that's where it stemmed from. Starting to train and starting to like look at myself and reflect on those things allowed me the space and the grace to know that I was worth it enough to work and to live past 40, which I think is a huge accomplishment.
100%.
Yeah.
I fucking love that. I was right there too. No, it's fine. I love that too, man. Cause there's so many people that are only working at a fraction of their potential, and they don't even understand what they're capable of. And again, that's like a product of surrounding, the lack of mentorship, the lack of just parenting. Like my dad abandoned me. My biological father abandoned me when I was 5 years old, dude. He left me and my sister with complete strangers somewhere. We ended up somewhere in southern Alabama somewhere, and we woke up and my dad was gone. And then luckily, he left the phone number from my grandmother to the strangers, and my grandmother came and picked me up. This is fucking but this is almost 38 years ago. And then, unfortunately, my mom was out of the picture, not by choice. He kicked her out of our trailer in fucking South Central Kentucky. And so she was going back to Virginia to do to do her thing, get her shit straight. And, that's where she grew up, Virginia Beach. I grew up in Virginia. For me, luckily, I was, my stepdad, Kelvin, who I call my dad today, my mom met him. And then when I was 7, she was able to get us back and got us back. So I lived with my grandparents and my aunts and uncles for a couple of years because dad was gone, drugs and alcohol and shit. He was fucked up. And I don't regret it. I don't regret it because I'm glad he didn't drag me through his bullshit. He wasn't capable of raising kids. Yeah. So I'm really glad that and my biological dad, he died a few years ago. He actually died. As a matter of fact, I remember having a conversation with you. He died December 31st of 2020. And I remember you and I were talking, and you said something like, "Oh fuck, he almost made it out of the craziest fucking year ever," And in a way, he did. He didn't die of COVID. He had a heart attack. It's in a bus stop. He was at a bus stop waiting to get picked up, and the bus driver pulled up and saw him laying there, and he was dead. He passed away right there. He was going back. Yeah, growing up, skateboard, rollerblading, bike, smoked cigarettes, drinking alcohol, dropped out of school, wanted to be a construction worker. I was just, I am grateful that I found construction because it stuck with me. I stuck with it. Apparently I was, interested in it for a reason. Even though it was demonized and, whatever, hard work. I don't regret it, period. Don't regret it, period. But, same thing. I remember I was, 20, 21. I like swore off, like I was like, oh, I'm not even going to fucking try to find a girlfriend. I had a girlfriend. She dumped me. I wasn't perfect. Neither was she. Sure. I'm glad she dumped me. Thank God. Dodged a bullet there, bro. A couple of them. Let me tell you what.
For sure.
Let me tell you what. There were some girls in high school that I went with that I was attracted to. And I was like, oh, man, these girls. And now I look back and I'm like, oh, my God. Thank God I never asked them out or they rejected me. Yeah. Not to talk shit,
Thank
but
God
dude.
for small favors.
Yeah. Man, God was looking out for me. But so things that happened that tested us, and I feel like we passed.
100%,
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah, dude.
Like I'm similar to you, man. I think back like.
And how many jiu-jitsu schools do you own? 2 or part of 2 or?
Yeah, 2. I own 100%, and my wife and I.
Yeah.
Let's honestly give credit where credit is due.
Absolutely,
I
yeah.
do the teaching, and she owns and she's in charge. And then Ben and I started Sammamish. Ben, John, and I together collectively own Sammamish. So
Nice.
Our families, yeah.
Nice. And 20 years ago, you never thought that would have been a thing.
Yeah.
Crazy, huh?
20 years ago, I didn't think I'd be here today.
Yeah, yeah.
Alone.
And you don't even look 46, bro.
Thank you, brother.
Dude, where's your gray, bro? I'm like fucking silver foxing over here.
I lucked out on that. Like I got my dad's alcoholism, but I also got his lack of gray hair.
Nice.
So you take the good with the bad. But like you, brother, I'm thankful. Like maybe if I didn't make it to 40, I'd have regrets. Yeah. But like the fact that I made it to where I am today and I can look back at all the shit that I went through. Very similar. Like my dad used to leave, he was into coke and alcohol. He used to leave us with like the coke women that he was hanging out with that weekend.
They'd hang out. You'd hang out. Yeah.
Dude, my weekends at my dad's consisted of going to Long Acres, which is the horse track back in the day. And
Was this
going to the casinos?
Was this before you were orphaned or
Before?
Before, yeah.
My parents divorced when I was almost 4. And then my dad moved in with one of his fraternity buddies. So this is a gentleman named Oswald Diamond III, Ozzy Diamond, who was a pimp and a coke dealer.
Oh, wow.
But he was destined to be a pimp. I mean, his name was Oswald Diamond. But I know, what are you going to do? Ozzy Diamond, Uncle Ozzy was a pimp and a coke dealer. But so that's where we spent our weekends when we'd go visit Dad on the weekends, was their house in South Seattle. And and the shenanigans that went on there. Yeah. But to your point, man, I'm thankful because I wouldn't be the dad I am today without that perspective. Like without seeing what I didn't want to be, I don't think that I would have the commitment to my son that I have. And like, there's nothing on this planet that will stop me from being the best dad I can be for that.
Dude, there has to be. So I think there's a correlation to having a fucked up childhood and then becoming a badass motherfucker. So
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
Yeah. And that's why I think it's very important that if you are the parent that is raising a kid completely opposite from the way you were raised, you need to give them some constructive adversity.
I was just,
and you got to help them understand it. Yeah. You got to show them fucked up shit. You can't don't just childproof them because you don't want them to endure, the suffering that you did. That's why it's important for kids to do jiu-jitsu and sports and hard shit.
Yeah.
You got to teach them the hard shit in a safe environment if possible,
Yes.
Let them get some bumps and bruises. Eli already broke his arm at the jiu-jitsu school. He wasn't even doing jiu-jitsu. He was doing somersaults.
It's always.
And his hand went like this. And he cracked. So, I don't regret what I went through, but I wouldn't want Eli to go through that because then that means I'm the piece of shit dad that is fucking, But you have to go, okay, I'm not going to childproof the world, but I'm basically enhance his ability to prevent, bad shit.
being vocally self-critical, this is something I struggle with every day. We also, when Lindsay was 6 months pregnant, found out that we both carry the cystic fibrosis gene. So we didn't know if Hendo was going to be born and need like a lung transplant when he was 13. And when I mention that only to say I'm not blaming it, but ever since that, plus my childhood experience has made me this ultimate helicopter parent. Like, I'm trying to look 2 weeks down the road and move shit that he might trip over out of his way. And to your point, like if I move all adversity out of his way, you're
setting an expectation.
And it's a disservice.
Yeah, it's a disservice. Well, it's happening now, and it's pretty apparent. We're seeing it now where people in their 30s and even late 20s and 30s, and even some people almost in their 40s are fucked up because of the coddling, because of the, I mean, I don't want to say silver spoon, but dude, just the absence of truth. Don't raise your fucking kids to be so fucking dependent on you that when they get out there, the real world has another fucking opinion.
Yeah.
It doesn't give a fuck about your feelings.
Nope.
It doesn't give a fuck about who you are, where you came from. It is what it is. So stop killing your kids slowly by fucking living their life for them. That's why Eli plays piano. That's why he goes to jiu-jitsu. That's why he does burpees. That's why you saw him up there cooking food with mom.
Yes.
That's why he watches dad work.
Yes.
And also why we homeschool him, so that we can also see, dude, nothing. Okay, I don't want to criticize public school, but since COVID, it's been a little fucking weird. Let's just, you homeschool Hendo?
Yeah, we homeschool. We started his school journey during COVID. So, I mean, and he's always been very functional in that.
He's the same age as Eli, right? 8, 9?
Yeah, he just turned 9.
Yeah. Eli be 8 in December 24th.
Yeah.
So,
same age.
So we homeschool him, not because we want to coddle him. No, because we want to make sure that he's getting the most and the realest education without, the bullshit.
100.
Yeah.
100.
And isn't it wild how fast they learn and only in a couple hours?
My kid crushes the whole day's school in 3 hours of focus. Like, if you let him get up and fuck around, he's going to get up and fuck around. He's 9. But if you sit him down with task-based, like, he can finish a whole day's schoolwork in 3 hours, which then begs the question of what the fuck are they doing with the other 5 hours?
Dude, I'm trying to go back and think about, me being in school and, there for 6 hours, an hour on the bus, 6 hours there, the bells in between, the lunch, the recess, and I'm just like, okay, so what? I remember school. I remember school as like, I have to go to this place, and I have to pay attention to these people tell me shit I don't want to fucking hear, and I'm an active kid, like. They call it, they tried to call it ADD, ADHD, and like, oh, you need pills. Bro, I didn't take those motherfuckers.
Me either.
Bro, they told me I needed pills. I didn't take those motherfuckers. I did for a little bit, and I just became this zombie.
Yeah.
This like, dude, you are chemically castrating your mind, and you're basically you're experiencing the world that's not you in your way. It's like, oh no, he's out of control. We got to give him pills.
No.
Like, fuck, dude. It's terrible. Yeah. It's terrible because why would you want to numb somebody to the point where they just sit there and pay attention, and it's like then they have to rely on that the rest of their life.
Yes. Yeah. And it's deadening you to the point where you can exist in this fucking fluorescent, heartless corporate landscape.
Correct.
Like, nobody wants to have the job that's alphabetizing fucking insurance forms 8 hours a day, dude. No one wants that job, but somebody's got to do it.
Someone has to do it.
So, hey, give them the pill, get them to calm down, and now they're fucking ABCD, and that then it's just a means to an end. It's 100% a means to an end.
Terrible, man.
And I'm thankful I didn't take the shit either, because you and I, same generation, we came up at the time when all of these conversations became Like it's a catch-all, right? Ah, your kid can't sit still, ADHD.
Yeah.
Your kid fidgets, ADHD. My kid's bad at math, ADHD.
Dude,
It's
no
like,
shit, bro.
Dude, like I'll give you an example. Like I wasn't good at like the social studies and things, but I was great at math.
Me too. I was
My
good at
kids-
math. Good- yeah.
So why wasn't the education system taking, like, instead of trying to shove what you're not good at down your throat, help you accelerate at what you're naturally good at?
Yeah,
Right? Take
yeah.
that skill of math, and my kid's got it too. Like
Prioritizing strengths.
He processes numbers like a calculator. Like take that and run with it. We don't deaden that in hopes of him remembering what happened with Christopher Columbus. Like the shit doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Another reason I love homeschool. I can look at my kid and be like, nah, that shit you don't really need to worry about.
Yeah.
Bro. Like,
Yeah. There's a lot of history that doesn't need to be, in my opinion, it's one thing to learn from history. It's another thing to look at history and go, oh, how dare that event happen? It was such a terrible event. Yeah. But dude, as terrible as it is, that event happened and got people here.
mm-hmm.
Not that I agree with it.
Sure.
So when a bad thing happens, you can't just sit there and mourn the fact that it happened. You have to recognize it, evaluate it, and learn from it. But I feel like a lot of history is just trying to, what's the word I'm looking for here? Just trying to keep people in a position and keep people in a mindset where it's like, okay, utilize it, construct and set up a framework to prevent it without like, not necessarily. So let me say this. There are a lot of people that are walking through this life ashamed of existing because of events that had nothing to fucking do with them.
Yeah, sure. 100%.
They're ashamed of existing or just acting normal. And instead, they pretend to be abnormal. And then it just becomes this perpetual, unforsaken series of events. And let's just get on common ground. Let's just get on what's real and go. I don't like math. I like art, but I'm not really an artist. Mm-hmm. I appreciate art. I'm an artist in a way because I can build shit. I can see things three-dimensionally. And it's like, dude, don't tell me I have to act a certain way and speak a certain way just because of what this event that happened fucking 400 or 500 years ago or whatever.
Yeah.
There's a lot of bullshit, unnecessary bullshit that's happening.
And I wonder how much they're just trying to fill time.
They're trying to fill time. They're trying to fill time, and they're trying to implement in a way, and I'll say it, indoctrinate.
100%.
100%. Yeah. And that in itself basically puts into perspective that somebody's existence is limited because they're so worried about shit that doesn't even fucking matter.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And that's
what I love about jiu-jitsu because it's so real.
Yes.
I used to make a joke and nothing against my trans friends, but I used to make a joke where, hey, you can't walk into a jiu-jitsu school and identify as a black belt. Sorry, you can't do it. No, you can't do it.
No.
You can't do it.
No. In fact, I gave a brown belt to Dan, who, if you've not trained with Dan, he's ridiculously good for the amount of time that he's been training. And when I gave him his brown belt, he was like, I'm not super excited for this. And I was like, that's normal, bro.
Yeah.
After purple belt, I don't think any of us were excited for the next two. It's just kind of something that and it may sound crazy to people. I remember thinking when I was a white belt, like, man, I can't wait to be a black belt, blah, 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 blah. And then I got there and realized I was just starting over again.
Yeah. Also, it's you get excited when you get your blue belt.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people quit at blue belt, call it the blue belt blues.
Yeah.
Like, fuck, come on, guys.
Yeah.
Enough of that shit. Keep going. Then you get your purple belt, and then you think, oh man, I'm halfway to black belt. And then you get your brown belt, and you're like, do I deserve this?
Yeah.
Am I really a coach? I'm coach now. Then you get your black belt. I cried my ass off when I got my black belt, dude. I worked really fucking hard. I worked really, really hard, and I did a lot of competing, and I was teaching before I even got my black belt. Rodrigo Lopez. I remember crying my ass off, and a couple people made fun of me, and it's a little disappointing. I'm not going to go there because I don't want to put other people's name in my mouth.
Sure.
I'm better than that, but a couple people made fun of me, and it was like, okay, you know what?
Jealousy is real, bro.
Yeah. I was thinking when it happened, I go, you really have validated who you really are, bro.
Exactly. All they're doing is highlighting their own insecurities.
Yeah. It's disappointing. But then I go, okay, well, fine. You don't want me around? See ya. Exactly. Yeah. And with that being said, I mean, I don't know. I want to talk to you about Renzo Gracie.
Yeah, heck
like,
yeah.
please,
I want to talk about
give me like I've heard a lot of great stories. Obviously, we know who Renzo Gracie is.
Yes.
If you're in jiu-jitsu and you don't know who Renzo Gracie is, go look him up.
Please.
And by the way, if you find him on Instagram, it's going to give you a warning saying that this person posts stuff that might not be real. but that's my kind of guy. So, in other words, he doesn't give a fuck. He doesn't hold back.
He doesn't give a fuck.
So let's talk about Renzo Gracie, man. How did that happen?
Yeah. Is what, like, as I was saying earlier, after Ivan's, when I went to California, Gracie Baja was kind of the only thing that I knew. The Gracie Baja I signed up at had Carlos Gracie Jr., Master Carlos Gracie Jr. teaching there, Marcio Feitosa, Flavio Almeida. There was a couple of Gracie Bajas so we could bounce around. It was a great environment back then. After I opened my school 7 years ago, and we opened up as a Gracie Baja. The reason that I chose to do that, it was my lineage, and I felt a obligation to continue the lineage of my instructors. That being said, a few years in of owning a school, I started to realize like my vision for jiu-jitsu and what I felt like my team at the time's vision for jiu-jitsu at a high level, not an individual level, but at a high level, were completely different. And that caused some internal strife for me because my jiu-jitsu, not mine, they're not a piece of property, but the jiu-jitsu students that train with me are like my family.
Mm-hmm.
I look at them that way. Like jiu-jitsu to me is about self-improvement. If I can make a living doing it, that's my goal and my dream. But ultimately, I don't want to nickel and dime every person that walked through the door like they're a bank account to me. They're a human being that has goals and dreams. And that's why I do jiu-jitsu. So I saw these two things changing. I had gotten close with Rodrigo Gracie Jr. About 10 years ago, and then really started getting close with him about 4 or 5 years ago, right before COVID. He was coming to Washington, and he came to my school to do a seminar. And then after that, we just continued to stay in touch and get closer and closer.
Great guy, by the way.
He's amazing.
I'm so glad I met him.
Yeah,
it's like whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa. I feel like, and he's a big deal, Like I feel like I have. I feel like I'm being respected.
Yeah.
By somebody who's been doing jiu-jitsu 3 times longer than me, if not more, and it's a good feeling. Yeah. So anyways, Rodrigo Gracie Jr.
Yeah, so I got really close with him, and in late 2022, I was still employed by Amazon. I have a day job, and that's a whole nother story. But in my 5-year tenure at Amazon, I had only taken a couple days off. I was invited by the head of ADCC, Mo, to go to the event in 2022, the World Championship in 2022. It was right over my birthday, so I decided to take my first 2 weeks off at Amazon and go down there for that trip. Rodrigo also went, and this was the first time I got to meet Renzo. I spent most of Saturday with Renzo, went out to dinner with him, and really got close with him. And in our conversations, when you meet him, you'll see the guy is like the most open, honest person you'll bump into. And ironically the most humble, because the guy has accolades that people only dream of or hope for they'll have in their life or even a fraction of. And he's done so much, but he talks to everyone like they're his peer or even better than him. It's the craziest.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
in my discussions with him, my vision for jiu-jitsu was very similar to what he wanted for jiu-jitsu. Rodrigo and him basically told me, like, we would love to have you come be part of the team. Like, you are what you're doing in the Northwest and at your school is the kind of culture and environment that we want to foster and continue to grow. And it was an invite that was just impossible to say no to. What an honor to be invited to become part of the association with these really legends, right? They're legends of our sport, of our art, and it really put me into a place where I felt like I was joining a team or a group who had the same hopes for their school and their students that I had. The rest is really history. I've been with Renzo ever since, and feel lucky every day. Like I can call him directly. I have direct contact with everybody within the association, and it's just been a great experience. I'm super lucky.
Dude, that's awesome. Yeah, I believe that he has what could be one of the best, what in my opinion, one of the best, I'll say, reputations.
Yeah.
You know, the Renzo Gracie name I know for a fact because of the academy in New York where John Danaher was an instructor, and then Gordon Ryan, Gary Tonin, all those guys are from there, and even Craig Jones, who's from Australia, was there for a bit, and now he's B team, but they produced some freaking world champs, man.
Yeah.
Like Gordon Ryan, best no-gi grappler in the world.
St. Pierre. Like,
Yeah.
there's so many
George
people
St.
that
Pierre,
have come out of that,
Yeah.
that blue basement.
Yeah.
And then, Renzo's kind of Switzerland in a lot of ways. Like, everybody, there's drama in the jiu-jitsu community. Like, no one can say Renzo has any motives other than growing jiu-jitsu and seeing people become the best versions of themselves. Like, no one will ever tell you, Renzo did this for money, or Renzo said this about this person or this. Renzo's in it because he loves this stuff and he loves people. Like, example, I had to walk him at ADCC from point A to point B. And legitimately, every 2 feet, someone stopped him and said, "Can we take a picture?" He did not say no one time. It got to a point where we were the fire people, the staff at the venue were trying to evacuate us off the stairs as I was trying to get him to the VIP section, and he would not say no. "Oh, brother, one more picture." The kid would jump on his back and put a choke on him. He'd be making faces like this. He would not say no because he loves everybody, man. Like, the guy is truly like a little bit of a jiu-jitsu prophet to me, man. I not to get weird, but like, the guy's amazing. I love him to death. Like, he's a great mentor and person to have in your corner for sure.
A lot of life experience there, man. Lot of stuff that was discussed here. So we talked about jiu-jitsu and how, it correlates to life, and, I call it the heartbeat for me. And, was there ever a time where you were in a funk where you kind of, took a break from jiu-jitsu or backed off or felt like, like it was like, were there any times? Yeah.
Yeah, mostly due to injury. Like,
Injury. Yeah. Fuck. Yeah.
I would say, I think all humans, I think that addiction, it's a bad word, but patterns. Humans we're conditioned to get into patterns, and I'm very, very pattern based. If I get out of my patterns, I get super uncomfortable. So jiu-jitsu's become part of my pattern or my addiction, for lack of a better way to explain it. So I don't have it, my mind goes off. I got injured. I tore a ligament in my hip. Kyle McCutcheon did a banana splits on me.
Ooh,
and
I know Kyle.
It ripped it was bad. I didn't walk for a month. But during this month of the last time not being able to train, my mind was so off. Like I feel like my wife and I were near divorce, like because of my mental was so off. It's something that I have to do, and luckily, like at this point of my life, it's become so much of my pattern that it's a dependency. Yeah. If I don't have it, it's noticeable. Yeah.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, I tore my ACL 2018. I was in a competition. It was at one of the grappling industries. I had two matches. My first match, like 20 seconds into that match, I was a purple belt at the time. This guy was a brown belt. And he had like the lockdown. He had a lockdown on me. I was on top. And my ACL popped. It just moved weird and just snapped. I was like, what the fuck? The whole place heard it. I kept competing. I stood up and I could feel like the wobbliness. Like, yeah, something's bad. I kept going. I beat him. Knee barred him. Then the next guy beat him too. Got him in a toe hold. And then I'm limping. My leg was stiff. Like I couldn't bend it. And I was limping around. I got my gold medal and I limped out of there. And I knew it was fucked up. My knee was swelled up. I was like, oh, Jesus. And I was down for 9 months because of that. Dr. Calfian said I needed surgery. AJ, Arash Rajbaran, he said, you know, get the MRI. Let me look at it. He's like, there's definitely something hunky going on here. And then Rodrigo Lopez and Ivan Salavari told me about this guy named Dr. Mark Wagner, because stem cells, or at the very least, sports medicine healing kind of thing. So I did the stem cells where he like took my bone marrow. God, drill into your fucking hip.
It's why I haven't done it yet, dude. Like idea
bone marrow.
Just you saying those words gives me like
drew blood, liposuction fat, and then injected it into my fucking knee. $7,000 cash
for all that pain.
Fixed it.
I mean, really
fixed it.
No problem.
My ACL's healed.
So worth it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Fuck yeah, it's worth it.
Yeah.
I don't care how nauseous I was when it was happening. I hope I never have to endure that again. But dude, it's like, if someone says, "Oh, you need surgery," I'm like, I'm gonna do this instead. Yeah. Surgery's painful too, and you're down for a year. Yeah. Well, you could be. So, my ACL, my right knee healed from stem cells.
Very nice.
Where's that in the insurance companies? Like,
Don't pay for shit like that.
Yeah, don't pay for shit like that. No. Man, that's a lot. That's a lot. It's good, man. Fuck, man. I think anything you got to say to anybody out there? Like, I mean, in closing, possibly, you know, like.
Yeah, if you're out there and you are starting on your jiu-jitsu path, you're midway through your jiu-jitsu path, you're anywhere on that jiu-jitsu path, or even on just the path of life and struggling, know it gets better. I've been in a lot of dark places. I could spend hours here telling you about the dark places I've been to, and I know Shannon's been to the similar places. It will always get better if you stick it out. Like there's always going to be something that gets better.
Yeah.
So the world's a better place with you in it. Don't ever forget that the world is a better place with your smiling face.
Fuck yeah. Thank you, Casey.
You're very welcome. Thank you for
All right,
having
brother.
me.
Yeah, for sure.
Cheers.